Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Bell?
Here.
Trustee Brewer? Here. Grant?
Here.
Trustee Jazinski? Here. Trustee Todd?
Here.
Trustee Brewer? Here.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the pending update of the pending litigation.
So long. Second.
Moved by Trustee Brewer, second by Trustee Williams. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
And Trustee Bell?
Yes. Motion carried.
Last week when James Williams said, I went to the library and I read the news about the delinquent development. Anybody want to go over there with me? I sure do. This is 2018, 2019. There's no growth and development in his mind. Nope. That's what we call it slavery. Can I accept the motion to reconvene?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Bell, second by Trustee Todd. Madam Clerk, please call.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes. Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Abstain.
You're here.
But I didn't, you said to reconvene, I haven't,
You were taking the roll call.
I didn't,
But you're here.
okay, well, here it is. I don't think it should be.
Motion carried.
She said
Item number 4, approval of minutes. I'll accept the motion to approve the journal proceedings of the special board meeting, May 21st, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Todd, second by trustee Brewer. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Grant,
Yes.
trustee Jazinski,
Yes.
trustee Todd,
Yes.
trustee Williams,
Yes.
trustee Bell,
Yes.
trustee Brewer.
Yes.
Motion is carried. I'll accept the motion to approve and hold the executive board meeting minutes for June 4th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it was moved by trustee Todd, second by trustee Jazinski. Are there any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Jazinski,
Yes.
trustee Todd,
Yes.
trustee Williams,
Yes.
trustee Bell,
Yes.
trustee Brewer,
Yes.
trustee Grant.
Yes.
Motion is carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the committee meeting of June 4th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Moved by trustee Todd, second by trustee Bell. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Todd,
Yes.
trustee Williams,
Yes.
trustee Bell,
Yes.
trustee Brewer,
Yes.
trustee Grant,
Yes.
trustee Jazinski.
Yes.
Motion is carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve the journal proceedings of the board meeting of June 11th, 2019.
So moved with the corrections I mentioned to the clerk. Second.
Moved by trustee Williams and second by trustee Grant.
No.
I'm sorry, Bell, okay. With the corrections that were mentioned, which, I don't know what that is, but the corrections that were mentioned to the clerk. Please call it.
Trustee Williams,
Yes.
trustee Bell,
Yes.
trustee Brewer,
Yes.
trustee Grant,
Yes.
trustee Jazinski,
Yes.
trustee Todd.
Yes.
Motion carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting of June 11th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Bell, second by trustee Todd. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Bell,
Yes.
trustee Brewer,
Yes.
trustee Grant,
Yes.
trustee Jazinski,
Yes.
trustee Todd,
Yes.
trustee Williams.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Mayor, each speaker may comment on any matter pertaining to the business of our village. Each speaker is allowed one opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate, counter replies, or rebuttal. Any comments that are personal, at that time I will cease questioning and we will go to the next item of business. Please come up and state your name.
Yes, hi, my name is Brenda Reed. Hi Bernice, how you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. The reason why I'm here is because in 2011, I ran for library board trustee with Towers. And we had a class action lawsuit going on over here. We was at Bloom High School. My attorney handled the case. We was also meeting at your house. And we had all those people sign forms for the class action. I have my mother's form here. She's not here with us anymore. But the form states that he did take this case. Can you explain to me what happened to the water? Because the water had vinyl chloride in the water, remember? We had all those battles on the news. And I introduced you to Mr. Levy, Jerome S. Levy. He would come back and forth from downtown to listen to our meetings and stuff like that, and he took the case. You was in charge of the meeting, so I'm trying to find out, did any funds or anything come from that? Because nobody received anything. And it's 2019 now. So what happened with the case?
Okay, that was stated at the end of the questioning, this is when the girl gave it to Ann.
Okay, so I'm done then.
I don't know, are you done?
Yeah, I just wanted to know about what's going on with this. Because we had everybody sign forms. And I know he took the case because he was out here and he said, have a letter stating that he took control of the case. Jerome S. Levy and Associate retainer agreement for the class action water in 2011, and I'm just wondering what happened, because I don't know what happened to the funds. Did anything happen? Because you was dealing with him, so that's all I can say. You're welcome.
Hello, I'm Bernadine Hopkins. I have a question, and it's this. I noticed that they're doing curb cutting, but what I also noticed is that the same people are getting their curbs cut. And I'm not quite understanding how you all choose who get the curb cut, or how does that system work? And how can I possibly get on it, because my curb is at least close to, it's near a foot high, and I really need that taken care of. And that's the end of my question.
He answers
Yeah,
every
we'll
meeting.
Oh, you answer all of them at the end?
Yeah, always do.
Oh, dear.
That is. All right, first one was about the class action lawsuit in 2011. Say the truth, I wasn't aware of one, but, and you said that it was held at the time she wasn't trustee, but she was still a citizen. So what I'll do is at this point, I'll ask Trustee Brewer, is there an update on, because everyone filed this case in 2011. So I will tell you that we do have airstrippers that we had to purchase at that time. We had to get a loan out to purchase those airstrippers, to take the vinyl chloride out. Those airstrippers are still actively working right now. And they're removing the vinyl chloride, and we have it tested, I think, every other month that we get it tested, but it's tested independently. We don't have anything to do with that. What is it? EPA test that every other month, or?
Yeah, we're on quarterly right now.
Quarterly.
Samples to our lab and send results to EPA.
Okay. But as far as the class action suit, ma'am, I don't know what happened. I never filed, so I don't know what the outcome is there. I will ask Trustee Brewer, is there an outcome that anyone get paid?
Nobody got paid, but there was a lawsuit filed, and I don't know what the date was, 2011, on behalf of the village of Sauk Village for vinyl chloride contamination. Unfortunately, roadway won out. They said there wasn't enough evidence to prove that they were responsible for a contamination of the water. So since we had the airstripping installed, nothing else became of it. There were some small lawsuits in regards to other residents, but they had actual documentation where, you know, the vinyl chloride affected their lungs and stuff like that. So actually, we never got anything done on that. The lawsuit was dropped. It was in favor of roadway, and you know, that's what happened.
Okay, then if you can stick around to after the meeting, she can talk to you more about that, but we're not going to just go back and forth.
And on the other thing I want to say, this was a class action lawsuit on behalf of all residents of Sauk Village. Nobody's filed. It was a class action lawsuit for everybody. We signed petitions and everything.
Okay, the next item about the curb cutting, I'm not sure. I know that they're doing curb cuts on 221st Street. I'm not sure where you live at. the CDBG MFT money, down to 21st Street. So I don't know where you live at, but those cuts, we do when if there's need to be, it is done. But I'll refer to Kevin. I don't know if there's any other curb cuts that we're doing other than just what's at 21st Street.
Now, all the job is all on the project this year right now.
So I don't know where you live at, but right now, that's where this renovation and the resurfacing is going to be done at 221st Street. All the way, I think it's to Orion. From 221st to come off the Sauk Trail all the way to Orion. And that area will be resurfaced, and if there need be, some of the cuts, some of the curves will be cut. Next is the reports of officers. Mayor's report. I have a couple of things that I'm going to bring before the board. One of them being the veto of the actions that we're taking last week at the special meeting. And I am vetoing, I read everything that's on here so it can be in the record, so one won't say that it won't be an open meeting act or whatever. So, but I am duly elected mayor, and I do hereby veto and submit to the Village Board of Trustees to reconsider the following matters pursuant to 65 Illinois -5-3-2 from chapter 24, paragraph 5-3-2, section 5-3-2. All resolutions and motions which create any liability against a city or village, which provides for the expenditure or appropriation of its money, or number three, to sell any city, village, or school property and ordinances passed by the council or board shall be deposited with the city or village clerk. If the mayor approves them, he shall sign them. Those of which he disapproves, he will return to the council or board with a written objection at the next regular meeting of the council or board occurring not less than 5 business days after their passage. The mayor or president may disapprove of any one or more sums appropriated into any ordinance, resolution, or motion making an appropriation, and if so, the remainder shall be effective. However, the mayor, or president may disapprove entirely on an ordinance, resolution, or motion making an appropriation. If the mayor or president fails to return any ordinance or any specific resolution or motion with his written objection within the designated time, it shall become effective despite the absence of his signature. Now, first item to veto is the motion to approve and authorize expenditures pending passage of an annual budget and appropriation ordinance. The Village Board of Trustees should have been more concerned about passing the budget and appropriation ordinance than playing politics. This action has never been done in the history of Sauk Village, and it's shameful that they cannot get a budget completed in time. I submit to the Village Trustees that I will not approve nor sign an open-ended stopgap measure. I will approve and sign a temporary measure when the Village Board agrees to an ordinance authorizing expenditures of village funds pending passage of an annual budget appropriation ordinance pursuant to the 2018-2019 budget. Further, the Village Board of Trustees must agree in the language of the stopgap measure not to terminate nor eliminate or alter positions of accounts payable, payroll, assistants, financial director, two part-time administrators, part-time administrator, water clerical positions, part-time community and economic development assistant, and full-time community and economic development director position for 2019-2020. These positions are critical to the operation of the village. Any temporary stopgap measure will be for only 30 days, not completely open-ended. Failure by the Board of Trustees to pass an acceptable budget appropriation ordinance or an acceptable stopgap measure in accordance with the law before July 31st will result in an ability to make payments on our obligations, including payroll. Second motion to approve a resolution declaring employment contract of the Resource Consultant void ad initio. Unilaterally voiding a contract placing Sauk Village in legal jeopardy. Voiding a contract without agreement exposes the village to financial loss. I'm sure the village board of trustees does not even know that what it means, but it is required the same attorney who drafted the agreement to provide them with legal interpretation, which caused a conflict of interest for which they did not recuse themselves. The next item is the motion to approve a resolution inserting a statement of work for the village human resource consultant. Again, I vetoed this, and this was unilaterally done and not mutually agreed upon by all parties involved in exposing the village to liability. This is an insignificant resolution due to the fact that the statement of work is invalid. The above items are hereby rejected and returned under the veto authority granted to me as mayor of the village of Sauk Village, this dated July 23rd, 2019. Therefore, the village board is hereby enjoined from enacting such legislation over my objection and written rejection until such time they can override my executive action and veto. My veto actions are effective immediately and will be fully enforced and nullify the actions of the village board meeting. And the village board may reconsider these actions in accordance with Illinois law at the next regular board meeting on August 13, 2019. Respectfully submitted, Mayor Burgess Vetoes. Okay, I will present this to the The next item is there's going to be a town hall meeting tomorrow. I'm hoping that it will be a town hall meeting. Now that you know what session, I'm hoping that we can come in and talk and discuss things that are going on in the village, things that we like to see, things that have been done. I'm not having a meeting to bash anyone. I'm not having a meeting to talk about anyone. This meeting is a town hall meeting to discuss the movement of the village. I've had them before, and I'm going to start having them again because I think we need it. I think it's something that's positive for the village. A lot of times you're going to get a chance to answer questions, and I do know when I have town hall meetings for you, 3 minutes is not a long enough time to expunge on what it is that you want to talk about, and you may need more time. But it will be done orderly. And if you don't feel that you can do that, please don't come. But I'm asking those that will come, please come with an open mind so we can discuss some of the issues that are going on in the village. So tomorrow there will be a meeting, and it will be an informative meeting at the beginning, and after that we'll take questions and answers. Hopefully I have some news, and this is something that I found out today, but I'm not going to expunge on it because I haven't found all of the, I haven't got all the answers, but we did get a look, and I'll say that loosely, a look at the comprehensive plan was asked for a sidewalk going from Cottage Grove all the way to the Forest Reserve. And the way it looks, that was phase 1 was the research. And the way it looks, which I'll be able to talk about more tomorrow when I find out, did we get phase 1 funding? And that's what we're looking at right now to get phase 1 funding. And also the next thing is the gas and wash. I'm hoping, I did mention this before, but I just want to reiterate, they had over 100 jobs that gas and wash generated. Because it's 24 hours. There was a lot in the village. I don't know the exact number of residents that actually work there, but I've seen a lot of them there. So the only thing I'm saying is I think it's a win-win situation, and I am currently working on trying to see if we can get that light going back east and north, and to get a
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I spoke with you a little earlier today, so you know the content of some of what I'm getting ready to say. I'm going to preference it as I did with the mayor. This is not a slight against the mayor at all. However, trustees, I need your assistance. We need to explore what we're going to do where social media is concerned. A couple of weeks ago, the mayor stated that he was really hopeful that anyone that would be interested in doing business or bringing business to the village was not in the audience, because he was certain that they would go running away from Sauk Village and we would not have that business. Well, I believe the same is true where social media is concerned. The only difference is if the people were in the audience, when they walk out the door, they may or may not remember some of what was said and some of the actions. But when it is in writing, on the internet, it lasts a lifetime. Anytime anyone is interested in the village, and we tell our young people, if you're planning to get a job, you want to go to school, you want to get accepted in a school, be careful with what you write on social media, because people look at it. That's part of their research that they never had before into who you are as a person as they make that determination. Now, we have bashing, and I know you're not surprised, but there are so many people, so many things being bashed, and it's about Sauk Village. If someone was to read some of them, you would think that only 2 people in this whole village knew how to do anything. Is that something we would want people to know, or to, even if it was true, that only a couple people were qualified to perform the duties of this village? I don't think so. But when you bash individuals, and it seems as if you go round robin, you know? 1 week you go in and you go in hard to the point that it's really embarrassing to do that to another human being. You have to, people, be cognizant of just human decency. Human decency. Some of what you guys put out there is just, it is so unpleasant. But then also, when and if you put things out there, at least let it be truthful. Don't go on the fact that, oh, I submit documents. I present to you data. I believe in data. Well, any and everybody can grab data and massage data however they want to do it. And if, in a sense, they make it seem as if no one in the village is intelligent enough to decipher the data. Like case in point, supposedly, and if I can use his name, I will, Attorney McGrath, I caused the village to pay you guys $1,275,000 since I've been village clerk, since 2017. Now I know, and you know that that's not correct. What substantiating documents that were put online were all of these pages of invoices to Odison and Sturk, where the majority of it was redacted. But guess what? I'm a researcher too. So I went and I got the actual invoices so that I could see in between what was redacted. Some of that were lawsuits before Mayor Burgess and that then board even came into being. But the person who puts it out, who loves data, put it out as if it's fact. A lot of the others, I mean, I think that we have corporate counsel for a reason, and it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Otis in the Stirp, Lab, whoever, but every business have attorneys, people, and you have attorneys to represent you in a time of need. So when they present some of their bills, in which I was very careful to look at the ones that did in fact have my name, to say, did I talk to the attorney that day? No, I didn't, okay? I got to get back to them, okay? But when it's a legitimate bill, when there's a legitimate expense, we should be able to pay our corporate authorities without someone writing on Facebook how horrible we are and what a horrible job we're doing because we had to go to the attorney. Come on, people. But I still maintain, when you use my name, and I'm speaking for me right now, when you dog me out, have your facts, have it straight. I don't have time to write counter reports to what you're doing, because believe it or not, I am really trying to do a fine job as the village clerk, and to have to address untruths is honestly a waste of my time. But right now I decided, for the record, I would share this with you trustees, and it's possible that we need to look at exactly what is happening to our village, because it's being vilified on a regular basis. And with you being the sitting trustees, you're the board. So people are going to look at you, and they're going to ask you and hold you accountable for some of this stuff. One of the pages has the Sauk Village, Illinois name on it, even and logo. So maybe it's possible we need to look at copywriting our logo. Do something. But as long as we just shake our heads and say, this is a shame, and not do something proactively, it's going to continue. And Mr. Mayor, what I would say to you, when you know that this is happening, I just appeal to you to just at some point in time denounce it. Denounce some of it. I know you don't like to respond to social media, but until you start denouncing some of this publicly, they're going to keep doing it because they think they're doing you a favor. And it's not doing the village a favor. The village can benefit from very positive PR. Positive. On the Sauk Village e-news Facebook page, for the most part, all I do is announce good things that's happening in our community and our community just a little bit further. In terms of Bloom Township, Prairie State College, I give people information that can be of use, that can be helpful. To dog someone out, that does not help anybody. It definitely doesn't help our village. And we are definitely in need of a rebuilding, rebranding ourselves. And until we can get this social media piece together to turn it around, because it's the marketing strategy of today. Until we can get that, then we may as well just all sit down and just say, let's not do anything. Because right now what's happening is not helping, but that's the end of that part. Let me just move on and say thank you, trustees and mayor, for allowing me to go to that parliamentarian session on the 13th. It was very, very, very informational. So much so, I'm not going to take time today talking about it, but I would like to be on the committee agenda so that we can talk about it, because it had us to look at ordinances and the codes for our village. And I'll tell you, it was an eye-opener. And I just have to share some of it with you next week. So please be prepared. come with an open mind, because some of what we've been doing all of these years, even though it's your past practice, it's a wrong past practice. And I think that when you know better, you have a desire to do better. So that's what I'm going to be talking about next week, if it's okay with you. I am very, very pleased to let you know that MWRD has brought back the rain barrels. It's not the same as it was a number of years ago. You don't get a choice of 3 different colors and you can't get 2. They're providing 1 per family. They're not delivering them to your homes anymore. They will deliver them here when we have activities and events. And I'm working with them so that they can be willing to provide more than 5 at a time. Because then that means that would take us forever to blanket the entire village. But we do have National Night Out, so I am hopeful that they will bring some of them then and some of you can get them. How do you get them? All you have to do is to let me know. I will post on Facebook e-news as well as send an e-blast out. All I need really is your name, your address, your phone number. And then we'll just take them in the order that they are received, okay? National Night Out, I'm not stealing anybody's thunder because it's a program that is being planned by a couple of others, and I know that they are really looking forward to sharing all of their updates and everything with you. However, that will be an opportunity for you to gain information on the United States Census and also your first opportunity to sign up for Code Red. So I will have a table out there, and I am going to ask Board President Tammy Jones and anyone else who would want to help man that table, because I'll be looking at 3 different components that night, and I am going to need some assistance, and I'm sorry to put you on blast, Tammy. But please stop by the clerk's table because there is a lot of information to be shared. And that completes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Village Engineer, Mr. Jim Zarnick.
Thank you, Mayor. First, as was mentioned, work started last week on the MFT CDBG roadway improvements project. Concrete driveway and curb and gutter removal and replacement on 221st Street has begun. And second, I met with Trustee Brewer and Kevin last week to discuss prioritization of infrastructure improvements should the state's capital bill improvements allocations be granted in the near future. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to add something to Mr. Cernick's report, because I think it'd be better if it goes in context instead of the rest of the public service.
Okay, what did you want?
Okay, Jim and I talked about getting, and we're going to talk about this some more, trying to get a $1.4 million loan from Illinois EPA to get 3,500 water meters, new technology for these days. It would cost about $1.4 million. So what we're going to do is try to go through and get this loan and talk to the trustees to get on board, because this is an essential part of what we need to do. Now, I also talked to Mr. Finch about the billing process, which is one of our issues with it, that we have meters that are out of date and just don't work. So what we're going to do is try to get the $1.4 million loan in order to do that. We're going to talk about this more, but I wanted to put that out there so you know, they could give a head up about what's going on. In addition to that, Jim talked about in his first presentation about the MFT.
Can I ask you a question? Are you going to report this on at your?
No, this goes with what Jim just said.
No, what I'm saying is, I mean, if you're going to go down the line, can you wait until your report comes and we can do that? Because I thought you were going to ask him a question.
No, I just want to add to what he said, because I want to talk about the 221st Street project, and he'll be gone. But I need to tell him about.
But in other words, you have a question for him?
No, I'm going to tell you what he told me. That's not a question. That's a comment.
Point of order. Go ahead. I mean, I just, because, I mean, if you're going to give a report.
I'm going to give a.
You can ask him, okay. You have a question?
In addition to your MFT and the CDB block grant for the 221st project, we have taken, have agreed to use $260,000 for the 221st Street culverts and sidewalks for that area. So this is why it's important for you to know that now. What's going to happen is we're going to do the culverts first, and then we're going to do the resurfacing. You know, we agreed to that.
Okay, my question is, how is that possible? Because we submitted the money and the scope of projects. So how can we alter that at this particular point in time and add something to that? I mean, I understand that sometimes we even have to add more money to what we have to get done, but how can, at this late time, because they started the work, add money to that project?
Mr. Jim, can you answer how we're going to do the culverts and the sidewalks?
So this is not part of the MFT CDBG project.
That's what I thought.
It's part of the state's capital bill. And so what we're trying to do is just get a handle on what our priorities would be should that money come through.
Okay, because I know we cannot alter what we have going on right now. So I thought it was the capital bill.
I didn't say we was going to alter, I said we're going to add to. I do believe I said add to.
We cannot add anything to the CDBG. Where you get the money?
Okay, we can't add to the project, okay.
And I'm sure that Mr. Dines would have told you that. This is, what you're talking about is another thing that he reported on as far as the capital bills. And as far as the meters to go and get a loan for that, I thought that was discussed between you and Kevin as far as where we were going to try to get the money from and I think it was coming out of something else, not to go and get another loan is what I thought it was coming from some other place. So.
It would be through an IEPA loan,
Yes.
but of the $1.4 million, there's the village would qualify for $800,000 of a grant.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Zarnick, thank you very much. Treasurer's report, Mr. Anthony Finch.
Thank you, Mayor, Board, Madam Clerk. You guys have a copy of the current balance as of July 18th. We have the $800,000 in reserve. Available cash outside of the reserve is $547,000, will give us a total balance of $1,380,540,000 that we are able to use to pay any of our bills. In addition, I mentioned 2 weeks ago that we're going to be trying to minimize the accounts payable list, which goes into my next report. Right now, we have not used any of the line of credit. I anticipate that we probably will not use the line of credit for at least the next 2 or 3 months, given that next week, or within the next 2 weeks, we should be starting getting property taxes. So I do not see a time in the near future we're going to be touching the line of credit, which hopefully will be a good thing, that showing that the cash flow for the village is pretty strong. The other thing that I'm working on is figuring out how to consolidate some of our bank accounts. We have roughly 20 bank accounts, and some of them have balances less than $1,000. So I just got to work out the logistics of where that money came from and make sure it wasn't allocated to grants or some of the case maybe related to the police department. So that's something I'm working on in the future. One of the big things that I did do with respect to our bank accounts, prior to me coming here, we was only getting like 0.25% interest rate on our bank account. I talked to the VP at the bank, and what she ended up doing, didn't move any money, didn't do any new accounts or anything like that. instead of giving us the 0.25% interest rate, we're getting now roughly 2% interest rate on the money that's in the bank account. So that's interest income that we're earning for money just that's sitting there, and that's across all the bank accounts. So other than that, that's the conclusion of my treasury report as it relates to cash.
That's good news, 2% from 0.2, that's great.
0.25.
0.25. Okay, the next, okay, I'll go right into finance. Do you have anything for that?
Only thing with respect to the finance, the accounts payable list you guys have in front of you. Again, payroll was $115,952.79 as of July 23rd. This accounts payable list as of July 23rd is $174,341.45. As Trustee Brewer alluded to earlier, we are working together, myself and her department, my department and her, has finding ways to put policies and procedures to ensure that we're collecting water revenue in a more timely manner. This week we did start the process of shutting off the south side, so we're going to start seeing that revenue come in within the next week or so. Other than that, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Fire Department Chief, Captain Dennis Vetoes.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Finch was saying, that we're going to work on doing some rehab water, revising the policy for rehab water, and also we're going to work on doing a more streamlining of the billing process. So it's going to take us a while, but we're going to work on it starting Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, Friday, 1 o'clock.
Okay. Could that also be part of your report that we get?
No, that's part of Finch's report.
How does that part?
That's the comment I want to make for Finch's report. I'm commenting on his report.
Okay. Fire Department Captain Dennis Vetoes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fire Department responded to 32 calls for service for the period from July 5th through July 19th. There were no major incidences. The fire department was at cooling station last week during the hot weather from Wednesday through Sunday. Fortunately, no one came, which is a good thing. National Night Out, the fire department will be providing free smoke detectors to residents. You must prove proof of residency to get free smoke detector. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Police Department Chief Malcolm White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Village Board. From July 9th to 23rd, the Police Department answered 478 calls for service. During that same time period, we had over 16 arrests. Also, this past Saturday, the Police and Fire Board began the process for hiring probationary police officers, the entry-level testing. It will continue on to next weekend when they're having their oral interviews to establish a hiring list. Okay. It's been mentioned several times tonight, so I guess we should give you the date. The National Night Out for 2019, that's National Night Out Against Crime for 2019, is going to be Tuesday, August 6th. Tuesday, August 6th. This committee has been working pretty hard to nail down vendors as well as working together, getting commitments from different residents as well as myself and some of the officers. I think it's going to be an exciting event. It just gets much better when the citizens make sure that they not only attend, but you also are developing relationships with each other as well as your local public safety services. So again, that's the first Tuesday of every August. This year it is August 6, 2019, and it will begin at 5 p.m. Mr. Mayor, that ends my report.
Thank you. Public Works Director Kevin Weller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few items I have. Repairs to the Village Hall 20-ton AC unit were made. There were 3 motherboards that were replaced and some information updates. That unit is working right now. The 50-tonner, which controls the rest of the building, not in this room right here, that unit has one of the compressors still out. It failed, it's on back order right now. There are 3 compressors that are currently running. We also had to replace 2 of the condenser fans, which is the cause of why it was a little warm in here with 2 of the compressors running. So right now we have 3 of them running. We're good to go for now until the last one is replaced. We will be starting, staff will be starting working on a few of the buildings here. First, we're going to start at the fire department, community center, then the gym, and then the village hall. These are all locations that we have big rooms and tile floors. We're going to be working on stripping those floors and re-waxing everything in these buildings. Staff has also been out with the rainy season this year. There's a lot more cutting going on, but we've been out cutting all the village locations. These are just general public locations. There's 55 of those locations. We are still behind on all of the retention, detention, pondment areas. We have been out through Lincoln Lansing, the Carolina section, some of our outskirt areas. We're cutting these locations, the top of these retention pond areas. The bottoms are still too soft to get into. We'll make way more of a mess and get stuck than trying to cut them at this point. Looks like with the weather conditions, if they're going to stay the same, it'll be closer to fall before we're able to cut them down completely. Staff has also been out pothole patching. They finished up the section between Jeffrey Avenue and Peterson. That whole section, about 3.5 tons we went through there. They will be continuing as we complete our pickup from the storm damage. This should take us by the end of the week. We should be out more permanently doing patchwork and some other jobs. Staff also had replaced a couple driveway aprons, 22172 Navajo, 224188 Yates, 22415 Clyde. Those driveway aprons were replaced from water main digs in the past, and the landscaping is completed. The next 3 are 22403 Clyde, 2000, 223rd Street, and 22317 Merrill. And we'll have more after that as we complete those. Staff started cutting some trees. We started over on 222nd Street. That street has been completed and stumped. We moved over to 222nd Place. Roughly starting in the 1805 area. We had a maple tree that was dead. That was the start of it all. We are currently moving down that street, and we will finish up coming back around onto the Jeffrey Avenue side up to Sauk Trail. We did stop at one of the addresses. A resident had a concern. That time we had to stop because our chipper had a malfunction. That chipper has been repaired. In the process of working on the chipper, we had our hydraulic failure on our boom truck. That truck will hopefully be back tomorrow. But right now, at this time, our chipper is back in service, and we have part of the south or part of the north side to complete, and that is all the storm damage that will be picked up. Any other piles will have to wait until September, or be pulled back, or wait till September to cut. The staff has also been out working on a hydrant on Sauk Trail. It's taken a little longer than normal here. We had to wait on a back order part. 1829 Sauk Trail, we had dug up the main valve on that hydrant, repaired that. The bolts were rotted away. The final part is the defective part in the hydrant, which is the bottom section. They'll be working on that tomorrow to get that hydrant back in place. And within a day or so, they should have the landscaping completed in front of that house. We did have to put the debris in the front yard because it was all sand. It would have made a mess and going down the storm sewers on Sauk Trail. So it looks a little worse off than it is. A couple more items here. We did, as Mr. Finch stated, we did start the Southside Shutoff list, about 142 on that list. They're at least 3/4 through the list, so hopefully it'll be completed by tomorrow. Storm sewers. It's been a concern around town. Storm sewer cleanup happens during storms or after storms as needed. All debris comes from residents or Mother Nature, and all help keeping debris off the streets and from blocking the manhole covers is appreciated. If you have someone putting debris in the roadway, please call the code department and stop this practice. 3 street lights were called in for easier repair at the time without our boom truck. This was a ComEd issue. There were, one of them was at Harper Avenue and Sauk Trail across from the gas and wash. That was a power line rehooked up. That light is back on. The other 2 were on 218th Place in Galen. One is back on, the other one was on for a day. We will put a shorting cap on that one. That's the intersection of Galen and 218th Place. That's a temporary fix until we can get the wire replaced. And the final thing is the 2 welcome signs that came down, one over by McDonald's and the one on Route 30. Those signs, the proofs have been agreed upon, so the signs are ordered. Roughly about 6 weeks from now, we'll receive the signs and we'll put them up. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Before we go any further, Mary, could you cut the lights on in the hallway? Because it seems like it's getting dark out there. Thank you very much. Community Development and Economic Development Interim Director, Tanya McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, trustees. My report, we've issued 140 tickets for the month of July, and from July 1st to date, we've collected $3,625. I do want to mention that more grass will be cut with the IDA funds. We want to cut as much grass, utilize as much of the funds as we possibly can, and we also address the overgrown hedges and bushes. So if you have any vacant properties that you will want to have addressed, please see me after the meeting. I'll make sure that it gets on the list. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports of trustees and standing committees and comments. Trustee Gary Bell.
The next Safety Committee meeting will be August the 20th at 11 here in the Rotunda. Thank you, Tanya.
What day?
The date.
20th. July.
20th of August.
20th.
Okay.
August 20th.
August 20th. Public Service Committee, Trustee Brewer.
For this public service meeting with Jim and Kevin, we decided that all of the inoperable fire hydrants will be fixed. There's 64 of them, and it's going to be at a cost of $364,000. And the second thing is that the culvert that I mentioned earlier and the sidewalks on 221st would cost about $260,000. That's our part of our wish list. In addition to that, we talked about the 50-50 sidewalk program. Kevin was supposed to give me some more information on that, and that's going to cost about $25,000. So with the water meters, we're talking about the $1.4 million loan that we're trying to get for the water million. And I also want to state again about the policies and procedures that Mr. Finch and the other staff is going to try to draft relating to shut-off rehab water and possibly streamlining the billing process, especially since we get a new billing vendor to come in and do the billing. And that's the end of my report.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said wish list. Whose wish list?
The infrastructure wish list, the $943,000.
From the county?
And we're going to use some of that, yes.
But it's not a wish list.
Well, I named it wish list.
Oh.
The same kind, you know, when you name yours.
Right on, folks.
Budget and Finance Committee, Trustee Roger Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Wednesday, I did have a meeting, and that was the first time that I was able to get the committee a copy of the budget that was presented to us. So we had this discussion about it. Questions were asked, questions were answered. I think it was a very good meeting. I think it was very productive. But I do have a question. So I'm sorry, that's it as far as my committee. But I do have a question. So since you did veto the stopgap budget, how does that, like, what's going to happen next? Because we should pass a budget by the 31st of July. So since you motioned that, since you vetoed that and that goes into effect immediately, what's the next steps?
That we would continue, as was stated before, continue with the budget that we have now until such time the village board comes up with what, you know, going back and forth, we won't have any, it's not productive. The reason why, and I stated that we can continue what we have now until another 30 days, that whatever budget that the board comes up with, then right now we can just operate on the budget that we have for 2018-19 with all of the things that are involved in that budget. As the new board comes in, and it is in, and come up with another budget or come up with another way of doing it, hopefully that's what I'm just asking to do this for 30 days. Hopefully that we will have a budget in 30 days to vote on.
I think that Mr. Finch was going to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee the Mayor. I think I need to make sure we can clarify, but my understanding is, as of July 31st, that the budget is not, if the appropriation is not passed, or as of August 1st, no bills are allowed to get paid.
Does that include payroll?
That include payroll.
So we can't pay any bills?
Yes, and I can confirm that with a statute, but my understanding in doing this, as of July 31st, if appropriation is not passed, there's no more money to be expended.
So then what happens if they, and that's, okay, so what happens with the stopgap? That allows the bills to be paid?
If you do, as I said before, stopgap is something that's new to me. I've heard of continued resolution. So if you veto it, that doesn't exist anymore. So there's nothing to continue to allow the village to pay a bill. So as of right now, between now and July 31st, bills get paid. As of August 1st, bill will not get paid. And that's according to the statute. But again, I will confirm that and get confirmation.
And that's all I have, sorry.
Okay. Sherry Jasinski?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My next housing meeting will be August 14th at 7 o'clock.
Orders Review Committee, Trustee Linda Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report at this time, but I just have a comment. Madam Clerk, you said you were appealing to the trustees because of social media. I guess I need to know what you want us to do, because we do have an ordinance in place, but I think as an example, because you were giving examples, one of the things that was very disturbing is we had a resident get up and ask us about our attorney bills for the month of May. And the mayor said he had just received the bills and he would show them to the trustees. Well, it was already out on social media before we ever saw them. So that means that somebody here in this building is providing information to that page. And that's disturbing. So I'm not sure, because I will not comment on the page, and of course if you dispute it, you'll be blocked, and we basically know who's doing it. So it means it's coming from here. Some of the stuff I see, it's like, how did that get out? And so we have to really look, because we do have an ordinance in place. So at this point, I guess, Madam Clerk, how do you want us trustees to address what you were asking us? Because you were appealing to us. Now, it's been said at many meetings, in probably 2017, and I'm sure I've mentioned it in 2018, that Sauk Village, Illinois page is not an official page. And even though it might say it's not official, people don't read all that. They're just going to read what's on it. And I always felt that that page needed to be taken down, or Sauk Village needs to have their own official page to put out the truth. So I know what you're saying, and I'm not sure how you want us to address it, but like I said, we have an ordinance in place. And what I saw a couple of weeks ago, and it was out on social media before the trustees even saw the bills. And I don't think that any of it was redacted. I don't know. I don't go on that page. So this is a serious issue, because people do go on and look. Businesses will go on and look and see what's going on in the village. And I've talked to businesses that are outside of here, and they read that, and it's appalling, and you have to tell them that's not an official page. So I just wanted to make that comment. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Trustee Debbie Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I passed out the budget and finance policy from November of 2015 to the mayor, the clerk, the trustees, and the finance director, because I asked the finance director and the budget and finance committee what the current budget and finance policy was, and they said they weren't aware of one. Well, I went through the last 2 years of board meeting minutes, and I saw that a budget and finance policy was discussed several times, but it was never passed. So in doing that, I went back a couple more years to when the last board, actually the board from prior to 2017, actually passed a budget and finance policy, of which you all have in front of you. So I would like to see the budget and finance policy from November of 2015 placed on the next committee agenda so that we can address that and come up with the current one so everybody knows what the budget and finance policy is. And second of all, on the library had sent an email to both the Public Works Director and to the Mayor requesting to see if it was possible to borrow the dunk tank for their end of the summer event, and they have not received a response yet. I don't know if this is something that we can do for the library, but they've come up with a lot of programs lately, and they would appreciate at least an answer, yes or no. Hopefully the answer will be yes. And thank you, Trustee Grant, for asking that question about what's next, because that's exactly why we did the stopgap ordinance, because we want our employees to get paid and our bills to get paid. And I don't see us agreeing on a budget anytime soon, because until the mayor agrees to the village administrator to go into the budget, it's not going to happen. That's what the majority of the board is looking for. That's what the residents we feel need. So until the mayor decides to allow for a village administrator, I'm sorry, this isn't the first time that Sauk Village did not go went without a budget. We did it before. We had an 18-month budget back in, I believe it was Lewis Towers times. So I understand that that's a problem, and I apologize for whatever part I have in that. But if I didn't believe in my heart that a village administrator was the absolute best thing that would help bring this village together, I wouldn't be fighting so hard to get it. And I was in court today along with Trustee Brewer, and if you all will allow me to have a long report, I would like to read you a statement that I prepared. I was in court this morning with Trustee Brewer on the village's motion for an emergency temporary restraining order. Judge Demacopoulos asked many questions regarding Ordinance 19-00 passed on the May 21st of this year, establishing the position of village administrator. The judge was informed the ordinance was properly posted with sufficient notice, passed by a vote of 5-1, and was ultimately signed off by the mayor. She also asked many questions about the village administrator's contract and the posting and the notice for approving the contract at last Tuesday's special meeting. When she was advised Mayor Burgess interfered with Mr. Williams reporting to work last Thursday, not allowing him access to the village hall, she asked what, if anything, did the village clerk and the Board of Trustees do to assist him in gaining access to the village hall. Trustee Brewer told the court she tried to escort Mr. Williams into the village hall, but he was hesitant to do so based upon the actions and words of the mayor. Judge Demacopoulos stated that the mayor is just one member of the village's corporate authority. The other members are the Board of Trustees. She stated that one member cannot hold back the actions of all. The judge found the village board has protectable right to pass the ordinance and to contract with Mr. Williams as the new village administrator. Therefore, Mr. Williams should be able to report to work if it requires at least one or more trustees to help him in that. If that's what it takes, that's what we need to do. Judge Demacopoulos, this is the words of the judge. Judge Demacopoulos denied the emergency temporary restraining order because she failed to see how this was an emergency situation as bills are being paid, department heads are handling functions to include additional causes of action, which will be done in the next 7 days, and set the matter for a hearing, reserving the entire day of August 8th, 2019, to hear testimony from witnesses and rule on the village's complaint for a permanent restraining order to enforce the ordinance and the village administrator complaint. Judge Demacopoulos closed with some very strong words towards all of the elected officials of our village. She scolded all of us for our behavior as acting very childish and providing a poor example to the children of our community. They are watching us and how we address these issues. She stated that this will only lead to similar behavior in our children in our community and will lead to the major issues in our community. The judge also asked what the harm was in allowing him to go to work. The judge invited all board members to attend the August 8th hearing and offered to assist further by meeting with all of the elected officials. She hung her head and said, our residents deserve better. And I agree, and that's why I'm fighting the way I do. She hung her head. In response to the other things that were said, Madam Clerk, I totally agree. I've been fighting about social media for many years. I have been a product of the bashing for many years. I have spoken about the social media ordinance, and I have spoken about the Sauk Village, Illinois page, and I have spoken about how Sauk Village really can and should do better on all all levels. And believe me, if there was anything I thought I could do as a trustee to make it better, I would. But you know, we're powerless. We can't do anything about it. And I don't respond to social media, because if I responded to every lie out there about me, then I would be spending all my time on the internet. And when you respond to it, it just brings by other responses. So it's a waste of my time. And I'm glad it was brought up, because now the mayor said we need to go to him whenever we're going to go to the attorneys, before we go to the attorneys, because of the cost to the village. Well, Mr. Mayor, you keep bringing us more and more reasons to go to the attorney, so I guess we're going to the attorney tomorrow. So if I could please get a copy of whatever that was that you read in its entirety by email, and a hard copy as soon as possible, please, because we've had 3 budget meetings that were not fruitful at all. You scheduled a 4th meeting and then canceled it, so it's not the board's fault that we don't have a budget. And I'm going to reiterate again, until we have a budget that has a village administrator in it, we don't have a budget, because 5 out of 6 people that vote on a budget want a village administrator. A village administrator is impartial. He doesn't know or belong to anybody in any way, shape, or form. The residents can go to him. The mayor can go to him. The staff can go to him. The board can go to him. We don't feel like we can go to anybody right now and get what we need without going to the mayor. This is a fortress behind those doors. Believe me when I tell you, and I'm not talking against the staff. We have wonderful staff, and we appreciate our staff. So please, let's not make this a problem. Let's not. I'm just telling you today, and I stand behind what I say. There will be no budget in Sauk Village until a village administrator is on there. The first action that the mayor did when he was first elected in 2017 was to eliminate the position of village administrator. Sauk Village has always had someone in that position. Whether you called him a chief of staff, a village administrator, a village manager, whatever you called him, there's always been someone in that position. And the judge asked, who did the mayor put in that position in the last 2 years? Do we have a village manager? And we said no. And she said, why not? So I invite everybody to come to the Daily Center at 10:30 on August 8th at room 2502, and you can sit there and you can, maybe she might ask you a couple of questions, because I know she's going to ask me a couple, and I'll answer them. Thank you for that.
Pass the budget. Pass the budget.
Trustee Williams, I have a question. Thank you for your concern about the finances. So you said there was a policy. You gave me some minutes. Do you actually have the actual policy that was signed by the board and the mayor?
Apparently, if there was a written signed copy, it would be in the finance director's office, but the finance director said he couldn't find it. So the only thing I had was the minutes. So in the minutes, it specifically states, exactly what was approved. In the next meeting, you can find the minutes where it was voted on. 3 votes yes, 3 votes no, mayor breaks the tie. So is there an actual policy in the finance office? I was told no. But that is the last policy that was approved by the board. And the committee meeting minutes details the policy, but the next meeting shows where it was voted on.
So, okay, thank you. So this is in regards to like immediate checks. So it's rather, it's not enough. So can I'll present the board a policy that encompasses just more than just immediate checks, and is pretty broad. And I think that'll kind of help put policies and procedures in place, so the board can, and the finance department can act accordingly. Is that fair?
Yes, it's exactly what I'm asking for. I'd like to see the policy that you've been reviewing for the past 2 years, so we can come up with a policy. Yes, sir.
Okay, first of all, I thought that executive session was supposed to be for litigation and things that are actually happening, but now I don't see a need for executive session. We're going to discuss litigation that's ongoing in this village. Wow. I mean, the lawyer's sitting right here and still allowed to read and what's going on. However, that being said, you've already stated that if you don't get this, this is not what's going to happen, and you're one person. The second thing, the untruth that you said that there's always been a village administrator, manager, or whatever. No, it's not. When Mayor Hanks became mayor for the first 2 years, there wasn't one. He hired the Mr. Fairman after the second year. He even said that there wasn't one. He was letting the department heads do that. He finally came to the board with Mr. Fairman resume and said this is what he would like to appoint this person, and at that time it happened. So to say that it never happened before, I don't know. but to incite, and that's exactly what you did, trustee, to incite, I won't say criticism, but to incite what you just did, to say that, okay, I haven't done this, won't do this, and as long as you do that, we're not gonna have this, and that I would not allow him to come in. I had already explained to him, you and everyone else, that I didn't need one at the time. We have been operating for 2 years without a village administrator, and I think we've done pretty good, all good. I think that the money that we have is a tribute. Please. The money that we have in our coffers now is the tribute to what we've done without that. I have put people in certain areas before you became trustee. Now that you're here, okay, fine. I explained to the board why I didn't need it. So don't make it seem like it's something that I don't want or have. I don't see a need right now for that. The second thing is, okay, you want to bring a village administrator. Please tell the people here about the contract that was written that states that the village board appoints. And without cause, this person will be appointed to that position. And if the village board feels that this person should be fired, this person will be with the consent and the majority of the board. Not the mayor has nothing to do with that. So that right there is a problem for me to say that the board wants to do this or that. So now, if you're gonna say that, then fine, Madam Trustee. If that's what you want to say, that until you get what you want, we won't have this. I'm glad you made that statement. Obviously, everybody can hear that. All I'm asking is for us to continue what we have until we come up with a budget. I don't see the need of a person coming in, and it was already stated in executive session that we want to make everybody part-time. And we bring some more part-timers in today.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
So what, they talking executive session?
That's a lie.
Okay. But anyway, for that to happen, and to think that you're gonna have a person come in and evaluate and make that decision because it was stated that we don't want to make that decision on what they're capable of doing. We'll have a professional come in and see what they're doing in the village, and then evaluate that at a later time. Like I stated before, I don't understand it, but if you want to continue that path, then okay, fine, I will be there also. I guess I have to be. But it's a shame that we've moved forward for 2 years. We was able to erase our deficit that we had, able to have money in reserve, able to sell property and bring businesses in here, able to get the water accounts up to date and everything. Now you feel we need to do this for whatever reason, I don't know. With that being said, I'll go to the next item.
May I please counter? I'll counter it in a letter. I know, but you made 4 statements that are not true.
Okay, fine, that's good. Thank you.
That's fine. It's okay to lie when you can't come back.
Okay, fine, but it's okay for you to say what you have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
New business. Unfinished, I'm sorry, reports of committees and commissions, Senior Advisory Committee, Mr. Emmett Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and trustees. Our next meeting for the Senior Advisory Council is Thursday, August 8th, 2019 at 5 o'clock. All are welcome. Please don't forget our game nights every first and third Friday in Senior Center. Bid quiz and other games are available. Also, we're having a day at the casino, and it's coming up August 21st, 2019. We're leaving here at 8 a.m., returning at 3:30 p.m. The cost is $35 per person, and the money is due by August 9th, 2019. Please contact Carol Coleman for more information or see one of the flyers that's posted around the Village Hall. Also, we got Gen Care having a Gen Care Fest on 193rd, 19310 South Halsted in Glenwood. And that's on Saturday, August 10th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're going to have food, live entertainment, and giveaways for the seniors. There's a Generation of Wealth Seminar Workshop this Saturday, July 27th from 11 to 1 here in the Sauk Village Municipal Center, and hosted by Trustee Debbie Williams. Seniors, we need to actually try to come in so we can learn about wills and trusts and things of that nature. And that concludes my report. Thank you all.
Thank you. Unfinished business, motion to approve the ordinance for standing committee. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Trustee Todd, second by Trustee Williams. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Entertain a motion to accept the recommendations of the village engineer to accept the bid offer of Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Maintenance Company Incorporated for the elevated tank riser replacement project of $69,500.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Brewer, second by Trustee Bell. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Motion is carried. New business. Entertain a motion to approve payroll and accounts payable and disbursements in the amount of $189,890.86.
Mr. Mayor, I think the total is $290,294.24. And I'm so moved.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry. I don't know how that. Okay, you're right. $290,294.24. You're absolutely right. $290,294.24. Accept the motion.
So moved.
Okay, the second was not, so the motion is lost for lack of second. I did that. Item B, motion to approve the engagement service of Kane McKenna as municipal advisor.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I was talking.
When was you talking? When were you talking?
As soon as you,
As soon as what? I waited. You didn't say anything.
Mr. Mayor, I said, excuse me, and you kept on talking.
I didn't hear that.
But anyway, Mr. Mayor, I motion to pay accounts payable with the exception of payroll to be voted on separately. And I motion to table the 3 invoices for Dr. Straughter in the amount of $2,000. Excuse me, Ms. Clerk, this is how I want to say the motion, and then you could expect that. This will be one motion, and then when I finish it, you'll see that.
And then our motion. So how about a conjunction?
I said and.
No, you said and. You said and I motion. You can't do one motion on top of the other. Now, if you would like to begin over again, we can. But you're going to do this right.
Motion to pay accounts payable with the exception of payroll to be voted on separately, and a motion to table 3 invoices for Dr. Straughter in the amount of $2,040. The second one in the amount of $2,040 and $510. And a motion to table invoices for Crown 3G development in the amount of $13,700. And a motion to motion the separation of the motions and vote on each motion separately.
One motion at a time. You have to only vote as one motion at a time.
Hold on.
That's trumpeting motion.
I gotta admit, it's a little confusing. I'm not sure if that's a proper motion based on the confusion. Madam Trustee, perhaps under item A, there's a motion to approve, there's payroll, there's accounts payable, and disbursements. If you want to break that into different pieces, you can. For example, if you want to first deal with payroll, you make a motion to approve payroll with the exception of if there's anything you want to take off of. And then just deal with payroll. And then you could do accounts payable, which would be accounts payable less accounts, less the payroll, which you just took care of with your first motion. I just think it would be simpler if you, how about if you just deal with payroll first? A motion to approve payroll, and then if there's any items that you don't want to be included in payroll, you can include that in your motion.
No, I want to do accounts payable first.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't know how it's presented on your accounts payable, if payroll and accounts payable are all in the same page or in the same document.
No. A motion to pay accounts payable with the exception of payroll to be voted on separately.
Okay, do that. That's one motion, so you're essentially you're separating the two items, so that's a proper motion.
I'll second it. You made a motion.
What was the motion?
Linda Tax.
What was the motion, though? What was the motion?
Motion to pay accounts payable with the exception of payroll to be voted on separately.
No, that wasn't the motion. Can you read back the motion?
No, I can't. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I did not collect it. I couldn't process it.
I believe the motion she was trying to say was a motion to approve. I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion.
No, there's a motion on the floor already. There's a motion on the floor.
Somebody's got to make a motion.
Someone did. Excuse me. The motion that was on the floor, what's going on? Okay, but that's not what we do like that. I mean, you make a motion or you don't make a motion.
I make a motion to separate accounts payable from payroll and to be voted on separately.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
Was a motion to separate accounts payable from payroll.
Payroll from accounts payable.
No, she said
it wrong.
Okay, but first of all, we cannot do that. You can't just add in to a motion. The motion on the floor stated that she wanted to separate payroll from accounts payable. That's
Have it voted on separately.
No, but that's the same thing I said. No, okay, okay, but that's not. Okay. Motion that's on the floor, again, is to make the motion, so it can be for the record, that you separate payroll from accounts payable. There was a motion and second.
But we still would need to vote on payroll because it was separated.
It says voted on separately.
Right, after this, right. I just want to make that clear. We still need to vote on payroll. Okay.
Ma'am, is there any questions? Madam Clerk.
Trustee Grant.
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski.
Yes.
Trustee Todd.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Trustee Bell.
Yes.
And Trustee Brewer.
Yes. I make a motion to table 3 invoices for Dr. Straughter in the amount of, the first one in the amount of $2,040, the second one in the amount of $2,040, and a third one in the amount of $510.
I second.
At this time, I choose not to entertain that motion or to accept that motion on the basis there is no remedy, there is no time frame. We've done this before, and you still have not came back with a remedy to say what is it that has to be done, or what is it that the board is looking for, the reason why they don't want to pay this particular invoice or any other invoice. Until that time, until I see something, I am not going to entertain that type of motion.
Point of order, there's been a motion and second, which is appropriate. There's no grounds for discussion after such a motion to table.
Well, I'm not,
Madam Clerk, can the attorney call the point of order?
I'm not going to entertain that motion. I have to entertain it. There's no remedy. There's nothing. You just arbitrarily said we're not going to pay for what reason, and when are you going to do that? So you can just pick and choose as a board what to pay and what not to pay without any explanation or giving a reason why you're not going to pay them.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of things that I would like to say where this is concerned.
We're moving on with, I mean, I don't understand.
No, simply, I know the attorney is here, but he can't. Can you show me in the documents where the attorney can call a point of order? Because I'm not familiar with that. I'm talking Robert Rules of Order or someplace. I mean, and it does not have to be right this minute, but this is the second time that you've called a point of order. I thought that was relegated to the actual board members. I just want to say that piece first, okay? And as I said, you don't have to give it to me now, but maybe tomorrow or by the end of the week, I would greatly appreciate it, because I don't want to see this duplicated again. Mr. Mayor, once a motion has been moved and seconded, we can have discussion. However, you do not have the right to refuse to accept the motion. That is not in order.
Well, I need to find out where is it that states that anybody can make a motion on the board for anything that they want to, regardless to what the end result would be. So this board is asking to not pay these particular invoices on what grounds? Ever? Whenever they feel like they want to bring it back, or whenever there's no remedy. Why would I entertain a motion that shows no remedy, that they decide they don't want to pay for services rendered, so we just don't pay? That's why I don't want to entertain that type of motion, because it has nothing. There is no remedy. Now the lawyer sitting right here, I have the right to yes or to or not to. I didn't ask for a motion. I didn't ask the board for this second motion. The one I asked for was the one that's written here for accounts payable. They made the motion was made to separate, fine. But now to have no remedy, when are these invoices going to be paid? When do they want, what do they want from this, what does this board want from these people that have invoices so they can get paid? That's a remedy. So without, to pass this, and no remedy means they don't get paid, and then next thing we know, we get sued because services was rendered and we didn't. So are we just in the business to get sued every time? I mean, is that what it is? Because that's not going to make any
Point of order.
But the lawyer.
Point of order.
I'm asking. I'm not going to entertain
Point
a
of
motion.
order.
Once the motion has been moved and seconded.
I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask for
I
it.
didn't ask you last one. But once the motion has been moved and seconded, it becomes no one's ownership of people. It becomes the corporate authority's motion. So there's no,
Because I never seen that.
Point of order, do we have discussion? Do trustees have discussion?
Madam Trustee, I know what you're doing, I know why you're doing it, I just want it on the record. Why? When do these invoices get paid? What is it that this board, that's a simple question. What is it that this board is looking for to pay these invoices? Services were rendered. What's the reason why you don't want to pay for the services that were rendered? That's all I'm asking.
Can I be recognized?
Pardon me?
Can I be recognized?
I'm just asking, okay, then if the person that made the motion, I'm asking the person that made the motion. Why, what is it that, because you didn't make that, they made that motion. The person that made the motion is seconded. And that's why I chose not to recognize it, because I don't have a remedy. And all I'm asking is for someone to tell me what is it and why you're holding the money back. That's all I'm asking.
Excuse me, Mayor Burgess, I do believe we did a motion and a second, but you never asked for comment.
Thank you.
As soon as you asked for comment, I got a reason.
I did not ask for comment because I didn't recognize the motion.
What I'm supposed to do if you didn't ask for comment?
You need to, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Point of order, I'd like to discuss. I'd like to discuss the reasons why we are holding back these 3 invoices. The reason why is because the $510 invoice was actually a final invoice prepared by Dr. Straughter herself. She turned in an invoice for $510 on July 1st for 6 hours worth of work, where she spoke to the staff and spoke to the attorneys and spoke to the mayor, and she was basically exiting the building.
Who told you
and
that?
she turned in, I have a copy of the invoice, Mr. Mayor.
No, that's what I want to see.
I mean, it says right on the invoice.
Okay, I want to see it.
It cleaned out her desk. She was exiting. It was a final invoice. And when we brought it up, Mr. Mayor, you are out of order. I am now on the floor, please. She gave us a final invoice for $510, and it basically said that she spoke with the staff, she spoke with the mayor, she spoke with all these different people, cleaned out her office, and final. The last word on the invoice, if I'm not mistaken, final invoice. Then, when we said we weren't going to pay the final invoice, you said why? Because it has the word final on it? So she submitted another invoice with the word final off of it, and she resubmitted that invoice because you told her to come back to work the next week. And when she came back to work the next week, we put motions on the board to say that we were invalidating her contracts. You're not recognizing that either. You're not recognizing anything that this board does. And so, in fact, and you're not recognizing anything that this board does, and the charges against Dr. Straughter have been filed. She has a right to a hearing. At that time, we will know whether or not the charges are valid. She has a right to come before this board. We gave her that right when we filed the charges. Now, I don't know when her time is up, a day, a 2, a 3, I don't know. When she comes before this board and she, in front of the public, can address the charges that have been placed against her, then we can decide when and if she should get paid. I'm not saying that she didn't come in and work, but Mr. Mayor, she resigned on her own on July 1st, but then she changed her mind.
Well, I tell you, I don't know where you got that from, because she didn't resign. The resignation would show
final
like
invoice
a
means
resignation would be presented to the board saying I resign, not what you interpreted. So now, if you want to have a hearing here in the village hall, now you're looking for more problems. To have a person have a hearing in front of the village, but that's fine. I still don't understand what it is, why that you're not paying. So that being said, I really don't understand, you know, why you're not paying those invoices, and I don't understand the second invoice for the parking lot. I don't understand that one either. That service was done.
Stuff missing out the parking lot now?
What?
All the sealer missing off the street over there?
All the who?
All the sealer, it's gone.
Okay.
Rain washed to it.
Okay, so that's why you're not paying.
Is there a warranty on the building?
I don't know.
We haven't even went to
It's not part of this motion.
Okay, well,
Motion on the table, let's call the roll. It's not even part of this motion to call the roll.
What we gonna do?
So you're gonna violate the Fair Labor Act.
so,
Labor Act's important to employees. This is a consultant.
pardon me?
Is there a difference between a consultant, Mr. Attorney?
Oh, you're not
Is there a
talking
difference
to me.
between an employee
Now
and a
you're talking to
consultant
a
when it
lawyer.
comes to the Fair Labor Act?
Is he the
I'm
lawyer
just
for
wondering.
the
Is there-
board, or is he the lawyer for the village?
Well, you know what?
Is he the lawyer for the
There-
board?
I'm
Because
sorry.
you seem to talk back and forth.
Motion and second.
Because I thought you had a lawyer for the board. I thought the board had their own lawyers. So I don't know if Mr. McGrath is the lawyer for the board or for the village. Because it seems like to me, I don't get called. I don't have, I told you, I'm not, until you give me a remedy, I'm not doing it. There's no remedy. You're not telling me why this board doesn't want to pay because you said it was a final? That doesn't constitute why you don't, so you don't care
What do
if we
you
get
call
sued.
final? What's your world mean in final?
What is my who?
What final? What's
What is
final?
my- what is my
A
what
final
mean?
invoice means I'm done. I'm done. She handed it into the
Did
finance
she tell
department.
you she was done?
Her invoice says
No.
final invoice. I have a copy. Anybody who wants to
She's
see
here
it,
every,
I will be
she's
happy
here
to
Monday,
share it
Tuesday,
with
Wednesday.
you.
Did you talk to her?
I did go in and talk
And
to
did
her,
you tell-
and
did
she
she
told
tell
you.
you-
You told her to come back.
No, I told her because I didn't fire her.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay, well then, I'm not
Call the
arguing.
question. Call the question.
I'm not calling anything.
Well, then you're in violation.
Then I'm in violation.
Is this a violation of what she said?
How would it be?
I'm asking.
I don't know, but I guess I have to get a legal opinion tomorrow. And I'm telling you now, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to talk to an attorney.
Well, you all talk to him anyway. You talk to him anyway.
And it might not just be an attorney.
Okay, it could be whatever attorney you want, man. That's what you're doing. You're costing this village money and you don't care. It's not
You
your-
don't care about your board members. You don't care about your board members. Call the question. We're never going to get through this meeting. Call the
Because he won't go further. I know that. I'm saying, since they're not going through, is that, since we haven't got the mayor to finish what he's doing.
So what is the remedy here? He's not going to call the question. He doesn't recognize the board.
No,
So what's the
I said I
remedy?
do not recognize the motion. And I told you why I did not recognize the motion. That's why.
So how do we move on?
I don't know how you move on because you haven't gave me a remedy. I said that.
So can I, can I make a suggestion that we table the motion to move on? Can that, Madam Clerk, can I do that? Ask that we table the motion so that we move on?
What? I don't understand.
I know that. That's not the question.
Can we table the motion so that we can move on? Because we can't move on right now. So can we table the motion so that we can move on?
You're going to table the motion to move on, so that's not going to get paid.
Exactly.
So nothing gets paid.
Right.
No.
That's what you want. That's what you want.
So, Madam Clerk, may I add to a motion to table the motion about removing those three invoices, those three invoices for right now.
If I'm not mistaken, when you table, it's not available.
Yeah, we've been debating.
So therefore, Mr. Mayor, can we move on?
I moved on when I went to the second thing. When the first motion was lost for lack of second, I moved on.
That's right.
That's true. That's true.
It died.
He's asked, but he's asked himself. He has to have. If he's asking to do that, he has to ask the trustees.
It's not debatable, that's what I meant.
Can I ask for clarification for Trustee Grant? Are you saying to table it till the end of the meeting and move on with the meeting so we can get other business done and bring it back? Or are you saying to table it indefinitely?
Well, it seems like we need to table indefinitely. The mayor is not responding, so therefore, I don't think moving it to the end is going to do nothing to prolong the meeting. So therefore, if we table the whole motion indefinitely, then we can move on to item number B.
Then nothing gets paid. I want to make sure that I'm understanding before I make...
Payroll gets paid.
Payroll gets paid.
Accounts payable does not get paid.
Accounts payable doesn't get paid. I'm sorry.
Accounts payable do get paid certain things on the account payable.
No, it's not to pay. You gotta understand this. You don't get a chance to say that word yet. It's asked it to be taken indefinitely. It's taken. You know, it's taken off the table. I mean, put back on the table. So now, for this, you have...
Well, I have a motion to table the invoice for Crown 3G Development for $13,700.
They're not paying, we're not paying any.
Well, let me ask you this. Can we motion to pay accounts payable with the exception of these two items?
That was just tabled.
So,
the whole motion is tabled.
So,
Madam
Mr.
Clerk,
wait,
were you making a motion?
Wait, so I just want to clarify something. So, I asked to table the motion, the one that Trustee Brewer presented, that we remove those 3 invoices for Dr. Straughter. That was tabled. Therefore, we're done with that. Now, she's making another motion in which she was saying she wants to remove the 3G construction one. That's separate, right? So, Mr. Attorney, is that, can we proceed to that motion now because we're done with the previous one?
Yes, I've been listening. Trustee Brewer's motion to table Dr. Straughter's 3 invoices was seconded. That should have been tabled. Then there was a lot of debate, and then Trustee Grant, you just made a motion to table that motion that's been debated, which it shouldn't have been for the last 5-10 minutes, but it was. But nobody seconded your motion to table that motion.
Okay. So that means that...
So your motion is still pending. It hasn't been seconded.
Okay. So in the event that that does not get a second, we go back to the original motion and we just continue on and doing nothing.
That's correct.
But we didn't vote on it. 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 Huh? So we need to call the roll, right?
Call the roll.
We need to call the roll. For the,
to not make payroll?
No, to motion to table the 3 invoices. We never voted on that.
So restate the motion, please, before we vote.
Motion to table the 3 invoices for Dr. Straughter. Okay. And somebody gave me a second. I don't know who it was.
So
so call the roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I did.
The mayor asked me to call the roll. I mean, someone in the audience asked me to call the roll. I can't just call the roll for anybody to tell me to call the roll. We talked about this last week. The mayor asked me to call the roll.
The corporate authorities have the right to say call.
It's called call the question. We're asking you to call the question. We're asking you to call the roll.
The attorney says yes.
We're not going to be able to move forward until we get this motion done. The motion is to remove those 3 invoices. I am asking and pleading, please call, ask Mr. Mayor, ask the clerk.
Call the question.
Whether she's paid out of payroll
Excuse me.
accounts payable.
Please, we need decorum in the audience.
I am going to call the roll, and I'm going to call the roll based on Attorney McGrath saying that if the corporate authorities tell me...
I'd just like to know where, since we're going to do that, where does it say that the corporate authority can entertain a motion?
It doesn't.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to find out. Where does it say that the corporate authority can call a motion? I thought that if that's the case, then why do you have the mayor? If the corporate authority decides... I'm asking that we have some type of But if, I just want to know, where does it state that the corporate authorities can call the roll, make a motion, call the roll, and call for a vote? If that's the case, then, then what's the reason? Or is it just something that's made? I have not seen a rule that states that.
Can you just then call for a recess and then I will research it for you? And I can't
All right, you have the attorney here. I just want to know, where does it say that?
Yeah,
Robert's Rules of Order.
Where?
I don't have it in front of me tonight. As you know, the mayor presides over the meeting. The corporate authorities are supposed to all work together, believe it or not.
That's what I meant.
And then any member of the corporate authority can make a motion as long as it's an item on the agenda. Any of them.
But
any one of them can make a motion, and then any one of them can second it.
Yes.
And then there's debate, and then there's a vote on it.
I have to recognize that particular person. They just cannot arbitrarily make a motion and second and vote on it without it being recognized by the board. So I don't understand where that's at and where can, because if that's the case, then how do you have, who presides over the board? The trustees themselves? So if they can make a motion, so they want to be judge, jury, and execution. So I don't understand. I made my statement why I feel that I'm not going to entertain this particular. I made my statement.
But the mayor runs the meeting. The mayor should recognize a trustee if they're making a motion, but the mayor cannot, because he doesn't agree with the motion in the second, then decide not to entertain that motion in the second.
But Mr. Attorney, if the motion I just got to say is frivolous, they have no remedy. When are you going to pay these bills? What is it that they're looking for? I can't get those. I got that same answer I got when I asked, when did they have a meeting? I got that same answer I got when I said, who made this, who made up these ordinances, and when was that meeting done with the majority of the board? When did that meeting take place? I got that same answer that I'm getting right now. Nothing.
If there's a motion to table, why are we still discussing? I thought table stopped
there was
discussion.
Not a second.
There was a motion to table.
There was not a second.
There was a motion to table. There was a second to table, and that stops discussion. And we've had about a half hour's worth of discussion since then. So I say, Mr. Mayor, you are violating the Open Meetings Act violation right here, right now. Let's move on. Village Clerk, please call the roll. Please, you are violating the Open Meetings Act.
When you get to the table, does that mean something? Does that mean something, trustee? You're not right now. You're not mayor right now. Not yet.
Oh,
so
stop.
By you hitting the table, it doesn't mean nothing.
Mr. Mayor,
she's spotting the table.
enough.
You can say to her.
Enough.
I'm not going to.
You know what? You go on and you want to say she's going to be the mayor. Let's conduct business.
Can we get a point of order?
Please.
James.
Point of order, right. Motion second. No discussion. Let's table it.
Like I said before, unless you can tell me what it is, unless you can tell me when you plan on paying these invoices, or give me a reason so I can take it back to the people. Why am I going to entertain a motion just because someone doesn't want to pay someone?
Bring it back to the next accounts payable.
That's what I asked. But in the meantime, no, we've done this. This particular one invoice is 2 weeks or 3 weeks past due because the last time it was tabled or it wasn't
because
done.
It was a final invoice.
Okay, so now you're saying until I can get a remedy to take it back to the person and say, okay, the board, because before the board asked for itemization was done. The board came in and signed off, or whoever signed off said yes or no. There's nothing here for that.
And we're still discussing a motion that was motioned, second, and tabled. Discussion should not be happening. I just want that on the record.
I said I wasn't going to.
Motion, seconded, tabled, no discussion. Is that not the case, Madam Clerk? Motion, second,
so you're
tabled.
saying you're making a motion to table the
That was the motion.
You made a motion to table.
No.
No, I'm talking about trustee,
Nobody seconded his motion.
trustee Todd said she did.
No, I did not. What I'm trying to say is when Trustee Brewer made this motion, it was to table those 3 items. Trustee Williams seconded it. Table, you no longer discuss. And that's how it went down.
And the reason I said again, the reason why I didn't entertain that is because there's no remedy. Until
Mr. Mayor.
We can sit here back and forth until this board comes up with a reason why you don't want to pay these invoices.
Trustee Williams told you why. That invoice that she's talking about said final. No other invoices has that human resource consultant have ever put final on it. Ever. And then it said it was cleaning out her desk. So as far as I'm concerned, when it's final, now she's leaving.
The invoice said cleaning out her desk?
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Really? I didn't see that.
And then we get table, no discussion.
Gave it to everybody.
I guarantee you that this tape will be sent to the State's Attorney's Office tomorrow and the Attorney General's office tomorrow. Because is it really motion second
I'm not
table?
going to entertain a motion that
No
has
discussion?
no remedy.
I don't believe you, Mr.
I'm not going to entertain a motion that has no remedy. You're saying that the invoice had on there that she cleaned out her desk.
It does. You dispute that, mister? Do you look at the invoices before you sign them?
I didn't see that on there. I did not see that on the invoice.
Yes, it is. It's on there. Cleaned out my desk. Final invoice is the last words on the invoice. Cleaned out my desk. And we got charged for the clean out her desk.
It's amazing that you making a motion that you could have just went to, I guess, payroll or the payroll clerk, Accounts Payable, and brought a copy.
I do have a copy.
Okay, where is it?
But I didn't know I was going to need it.
You
Mr.
did.
Burgess. You signed off on the invoice. Your name was on there.
She's terminated.
Who you threw that?
Motion second, table. Please call the roll. No discussion. We can always talk about this the next time we meet.
No, you can't.
Okay.
Stop.
Right. Don't answer that. That's. So we're just gonna sit here until the next meeting when it comes back to the table again. I don't know about you, but I have a family to go home to.
Stop. You ain't saying nothing.
So this is what we've come down to.
Well, if somebody want to come up with a motion that makes sense, maybe I'll entertain it. But this motion here, no, I will not.
I make a motion that we table those 3 invoices until the next meeting.
Somebody wants to come up with a motion that makes sense. If you want to make a motion that makes sense, but to table something with no remedy, I keep saying that. No remedy, so you don't want to pay them because of what? They look wrong or what? I don't know. But when are you going to not pay them, and then we're going to risk a lawsuit because services were rendered? I don't know about you, but I'm not looking for any more lawsuits. And that's exactly what this board is putting that into, to not pay for services rendered.
That's true, that's true.
You know, I've had about enough.
Okay, thank you.
And I think and the reason I read the judge, when I read that, is because the judge told me to come here and make that statement.
Oh, he did?
She did, she did.
Okay.
She told me to come here and make that statement. So I tell you what I want to make a motion to do. I'm going to approve the accounts payable, and I'm going to approve Dr. Straughter's invoices, and then I'm going to go to the public and I'm going to ask, would you approve invoices that say it's a final invoice? I'm cleaning out my desk, but then I come back next week, and then I'm going to charge you so I can go talk to the mayor about the threats that the board is putting against you. These are in her invoices. She's charging us because we put charges on her 2 months ago that we have presented. It's in the invoice. Do you look at the invoice? Do you look at the invoice before you sign it? I make a motion that we approve accounts payable in its entirety. No, I'm trying. I want to go.
Well, no. Well, how about this? How about, Madam Clerk, can we take the current motion on the floor, move it to the end, and go through items C, D, E, F, G?
He's not presiding right now. He's stopping.
Because you said so.
I did.
Because, okay, so that means because you said so.
She don't follow.
You don't know what I do at home, Mrs. Burgess.
Now, we're not going, okay,
Your
now,
wife is
we're going to go there, we're going to go there now.
Your wife is
Are we
talking
going
to
to
me.
go there?
Talk to your wife. Take control of your audience.
I will entertain a motion to go into recess.
Yep. So moved.
I will entertain a motion to go into recess. It was moved.
I want to finish this.
There wasn't a second.
It's taken care of. Get in there. I know. Hash it out.
There wasn't a second. Who seconded?
For how long, Mr. Mayor? Because you didn't give us how much, what's your relief? How many minutes are we talking about? And we could go in executive session until next week, which I would prefer to do. But what's your motion? You want to go to recess for how long?
Do it.
I have a motion on the floor for to go. I asked for a motion to go into recess.
For how long, Mr. Mayor?
There was not a second.
So, you got to say how long, Mr. Mayor.
No, he doesn't.
5 minutes.
Second.
I didn't make the motion.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
I can't make the motion.
Oh, my God.
What you say? What you say?
I'll wait.
What you say?
I'll wait.
No, what did you say?
Go ahead and make your motion.
I can't make a motion.
I said how long?
I didn't make a motion.
Oh, my God.
I can't make a motion and preside. Trustee Grant made the motion.
Jesus Christ. This is worse than Lewis Tower.
Yeah, well, it's worse than Lewis
This
Tower.
is more than embarrassing.
Okay, well, then you need to talk, you need to get on board. And,
I'm not getting on board with you.
Okay, fine. It was moved and seconded that we're going to recess for 5 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Well, can we get public works? I can't. Oh, okay.
Okay, fine. No,
Don't take your advice and learn Robert's rules or order because they don't know.
You know, Mr. Carter, you never said a word.
you can't be afraid
You always be right. I see that you think you ain't nothing done what I said.
This is what the mayor wants. You know, he wants this, right?
You're going to do anything up there, you're going to run down back. You ain't in the middle of this.
where's the popcorn? I don't know all I do is take a mess. This is every to me. This is every 74. I'm gonna have you a popcorn. This is
recess. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Bell?
Here.
Trustee Brewer?
Yeah, here.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Here.
Trustee Todd? Here. Trustee Williams?
Here.
During that time, I'll ask, was there anything changed? I'm asking the board, I'm not asking the audience.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I suggest something? That we make a motion to pay payroll? At least we could do that.
We did.
Okay, and we paid. We didn't make a motion. Did we vote on to pay payroll?
No.
We didn't vote on it. We didn't vote on it. I think we all in agreement.
So are you making a motion now to pay payroll?
No, I'm asking you a question. We're in agreement that we want to pay payroll.
I'm asking you a question. Are you making a motion to pay payroll?
Yes.
Second.
It was a motion to.
No, we never voted on payroll.
There's a motion on the floor by Trustee Brewer and second by Trustee Williams to pay payroll. Any questions? Madam Clerk.
Not to pay payroll.
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
The motion is carried.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
No, we need to.
Yes.
We need to
I don't
go
see
to
how we're gonna
item
get through
C.
this meeting. I made a
Wait,
motion.
Trustee Williams.
Second.
Wait, trustees, we have to make a motion on item C, D, E, and F, order for our bond payments. That's mandatory. We'll be doing a disadvantage to the village residents by not doing that. So we need to do that tonight.
To do what?
To vote on options C, D, E, F, and G, and more importantly, C, D, and E. As we have to do that. That's for our village bonds.
Okay. So we can make a motion to approve, what is B, C, D, and E?
Well, the mayor will need to call those. The mayor will need to call those and ask for a motion.
Moving on to item number B, I'll entertain a motion to approve the engagement services for Kane McKenna as municipal advisor.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Bell, second by Trustee Grant. Any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number C, motion to approve the engagement of Bernardi Securities, Inc. as placement agent.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Trustee Bell, second by Trustee Grant. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number D, motion to approve the engagement letter of Ice Miller as bond and disclosure counsel.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Bell, second by Trustee Williams. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number E, motion to approve an ordinance abating the taxes for the general obligation TIF fund, TIF refunding bonds.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Trustee Williams, second by Trustee Bell. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Motion to approve an ordinance to update the village code, section 78-219, building for service.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Grant, second by trustee Bell. Any questions?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, it was asked that the words "and libraries" be added to every line that says payments for residential institutions, school, and church users. It needs to include "and libraries" on page 2 and 3.
Mr. Mayor, may I respond to that, please?
Hold on just a second, she's not through. Well, that was all,
Right, it was requested prior to this meeting that the "and libraries" be added.
Yes.
Hold on just a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is that all that you
Yeah, that's all I have.
And that was noted, that is the same document that we looked at the last meeting, but by the time it's finalized, then it will look totally different, okay? But no, that has been acknowledged.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Jesus.
That's what we need to call.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski? Yes. Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item G, resolution to enter into a one-year renewable contract with Cedars for utility billing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Grant, second by trustee Todd. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Motion is carried. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Williams, second by trustee Bell. All in favor?
Aye.